Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard, NFL Week 17. We have 2 weeks to go, and we're getting into the hot phase. This is it. Now cards are on the table, and a lot of playoff implications this and next week. A lot of spots can be clinched. A lot of eliminations can occur. We have a good slate of games to predict. Smokey, how are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm good. I'm better than Broncos fans. I had a tough pick between the Colts and the Broncos here, but you can't tell me that the Broncos are not actively tanking at this point. This is supposed to be a top 5 defense in the league, and you give up 51 to Baker Mayfield in that running attack of Cam Akers. It was just ridiculous. Made no sense. I actually played the Broncos defense in a fantasy league and got like -4 points out of that.
God.
It was utterly ridiculous.
Oh, boy. But what are they tanking for? It gets worse.
They
don't have their own pick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't need a quarterback. I mean, you probably do at this point. A lot of people are saying Russell is just absolutely done.
They do, but they're paying him too much to get another one.
Yeah.
And they're not getting out of the deal. And also, they don't have a pick. Their pick belongs to Seattle because they gave it up for Russell Wilson. There's a mathematical possibility at this point in time that the Seattle Seahawks will both make the playoffs and have the first overall pick, which I think has never happened before, ever. It's not likely, because they're likely not to make the playoffs, and they would also need the Texans to win out, which is unlikely, but there is a mathematical chance of that.
Yeah, well, they're doing their best to not win any more games themselves, so they're probably going to have 2 high picks at the end of the season here.
Man, yeah, Denver is bad. You could use the veteran Broncos fans thing to really summarize the whole season.
Oh, absolutely.
You say it every week.
Yeah, because such high hopes. That entire division had such high hopes. And now the Chiefs are great, and the Chargers are somewhat coming on here at the end of the season. But the other two are just so bad, so much worse than we expected.
Yeah, and I thought about it earlier today when I looked at the NFL.com power rankings, and for the first time this year, the Niners are number 1 and the Broncos are number 32. And wow. I remembered back to, I don't know if you remember this, like I think week 4 or something, the Niners actually lost to the Broncos this season.
Oh, man.
Do you know the other teams the Niners lost to, aside from the clearly good Chiefs?
Falcons?
The Falcons, who are like bottom 5, and the Bears, who are bottom 5.
Wow, it makes no sense. No sense at all.
None at all.
No.
I don't get it. How did they lose those games?
I have no clue. Couldn't even begin to explain that one. The way they're playing now, they look like possibly at least a top 3 team. I mean, I don't know if they're better than the Chiefs at this point, but they're right there with them.
I have no idea how they lost those games initially. They were 3-4 at some point. A lot of them won 8 straight since then. It makes no sense. But yeah, Broncos are not looking great. Yeah. How are our predictions? Are they looking a bit better?
I really don't want to talk about it, but I guess I will.
I have a good feeling.
Yeah, we disagreed on, what was it, 6 this week? 6 games. You actually won 4 of those, and I only won 2. So that the total was 10 for me and 12 for you. We disagreed on Saints and Browns. You had the Saints. Giants and Vikings. I had the Giants, and they should have pulled that out. They should have. How many last-second scores can the Vikings do? And by the kicker at that, Joseph has no
61 yards.
Yeah, no superstar kicker, but he pulled that out somehow, just to pour it on the Giants there. Eagles and Cowboys. You did pick the Eagles, which they almost pulled that off too. I mean, that was a great game. Raiders, Steelers. I had the Steelers. Broncos and Rams, of course. I picked the Broncos. That made no sense, man. What was the other one? Texans and Titans.
At Houston. Yes, that I will pride myself on. That was good.
Yeah, they finally did it. And I guess they have no really worry of losing the number 1 pick at this point, so they're like, well, I might as well go win one.
Probably not. Like Denver's trying to give it to Seattle. They'd have to win out. I don't think that's happening. So the overall, like, I'm 2 points closer. So we're pretty close now. What is the difference now? 1 or 2 points left.
1
right?
point. 155 to 154 now.
That's good. That's what you want to see. Photo finish going into the last 2 weeks. It's been that way every year so far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Glad we get it. So these next 2 weeks of picks are going to be very crucial because the playoffs, there's not that many games. So these weeks have to count. So let's get into it. By the way, I'm not doing MVP rankings this week or next week because we're going to have a full episode dedicated to the NFL honors during Pro Bowl week. And honestly, I just can't be bothered anymore, like, pushing names around for no reason at all. Like, it's still like 3 to 5 guys you can just put wherever you want. I think you can make a reasonable argument for Mahomes. You could argue Allen, Burrow. You can argue Jalen Hurts. Maybe Tua kind of is falling out of it now. You can't really argue for him anymore. But the other 4 guys you can just argue for. You can literally flip like coins however you want to. So I'm not doing that because they're really just like counting peanuts at this point. So we're going to wait until we get to the NFL honors and do an episode on that. But you're welcome to leave an opinion on it if you still have one. Getting into this week, we have a Thursday night. We have the Cowboys at the Titans.
Yeah, the Cowboys and the Eagles last week were one of the only shootouts, really, that we had going on. And Gardner Minshew played very well in that game. So, therefore, the Cowboys' defense is not infallible, at least as infallible as people thought. Quite a few teams over the past 3 weeks have put one over on the Cowboys. They're still winning, unfortunately, and the Titans are bad. With Malik Willis, they're not going to win anything. Malik is horrible. I mean, I guess it is what it is. And if Tannehill's not back in there, they have no chance in this game. So I will take the Cowboys on the road.
I'll agree with that. Dallas is still playing technically for a playoff spot. If the Eagles lose out, they have not the playoff spot, the division win, which would be huge for them. If they pull it off, I doubt they will because the Eagles are not going to lose out, but they're still playing for something. Titans, of course, are also playing for a division title, but they've looked terrible and the Jaguars look great. They lost to Houston, so there's no reason to expect them to come back on Thursday night. But I mean, you never know. This kind of smells like an upset, but at this point, I don't think the Titans are really capable of it. Texans were a dangerous team all month. The Titans really weren't. So Cowboys win it. Cardinals at the Falcons.
You actually picked the Cowboys finally.
Had nowhere to hide anymore. I had to.
Exactly. You always want there to be an upset over the Cowboys. Like
this might be the
week.
last week I will pick them all year.
Even when you do pick them, you say, well, this could be an upset, though.
It could be. Next week they're playing in division. I'll probably not pick them. After that, playoffs. They'll probably play Tampa Bay in the first round the way it's looking now.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll have to pick them then. But after that, nah, I'm not picking them anymore.
Cardinals and Falcons. This is a legitimate tank bowl at this point. Both of these teams are seemingly trying to lose. I think Desmond Ridder is trying to win. He's actually trying to do something. And regardless of what the Falcons fans are saying, he is showing flashes of being capable. I think after a little bit of development and offseason and knowing that he's the starter, he's going to develop quite nicely in the next season. However, on the other side, I don't even think if Colt McCoy makes it back in this game, the Cardinals are good enough to win this game in Atlanta. And they're probably going to let me down now that I'm saying this, but I will take the Falcons at home.
I agree with that. Falcons to win because the Cardinals are really bad. Falcons were still like a game away from playoff contention and they lost a couple of close ones in a frankly awful division. And now they are eliminated, as the Cardinals been eliminated for a while. But Arizona's completely falling apart. Like everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, and it's all live. You can always not live, but it's all televised on Hard Knocks, which is, again, I cannot stress enough how great that is. You get to see everything twice, but everything's going wrong. Coaches are getting fired. The GM stepped down. Kyler Murray gets hurt. Not that really hurts their chances a whole lot because Colt McCoy is just serviceable. But nothing is going right, so Falcons win it. This is going to be the first big-ish game for Desmond Ridder, is my opinion. Bears at the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions couldn't quite pull it out against the Panthers. That's a game they should have won. That's a game they needed to win. I haven't looked at the playoff picture this week since all these games ended, at least for the NFC. I don't know if they're still on the bubble. I would assume there's still a possibility that they make it in if they win out these next two games. I'm sure a lot would have to go right, and certain teams would have to lose for that to happen. But on the other side, the Bears, Justin Fields is beat up. He is really beat up. They even threw Peterman in there just to get him one more pick added to his career there. This was the entire week of picks, though, right? Like, there was so many interceptions last week. It was ridiculous. Every game I watched, there were interceptions being thrown, and it wasn't all because of the weather. A lot of that, I mean, look at Tua down there in Miami. That wasn't a bad weather game. And Gardner threw one or two, and they were in a dome. But back to this game, the Lions should still have something to fight for where the Bears don't. I think this is probably going to be a close game if Justin Fields is the quarterback. If Peterman's not, the Lions are going to slaughter him. But I will take... Huh?
Yeah, no, I was gonna speak on the interceptions thing. Finish your thought.
Oh yeah, I'll take the Lions at home.
Okay, I'll agree with that. First and foremost, lock that in as well. We'll just Lions win. They're better. If I kept track of it or remember correctly, on 3 games on Sunday night there was 11 interceptions in total.
Sounds about right.
Something around that, because Tua had 3 and Aaron Rodgers had 1, so they had 4 in one game. Then the Rams and Broncos, obviously they shared 4 interceptions, and then Brady was dealing them too against Arizona. So yeah, it was an insane amount of interceptions on specifically Sunday night. I have no idea why. Maybe people just can't play on Christmas. They're all tired. Yeah. I don't know. But that is definitely interesting. I don't know why. Detroit wins. The Bears are bad, and Detroit's still competing, even though the backbreaking loss. This is I guess an opportunity for them to show that they can recover and win out, which they have to now. So this is a must-win, and I think they get it done on the backs of that offense. Jaguars at the Texans.
Yeah, maybe it was because it's the gift-giving season. You know, you're gifting interceptions out.
A lot of picks. Yeah.
Yeah. Texans finally got their win in, what was it, the first one in 10 games or whatever it was. But we saw it coming. Well, you saw it coming more than me. I didn't think they were quite going to get it done, but they did, and, they still got something to fight for. Like I said last week, Davis Mills, you can't tell him he's tanking because he wants to keep his job. It's probably not going to happen at this point, but he wants to. On the other hand, Lawrence is turning out to be a blue chipper in probably the worst weather game of the entire weekend. He was able to go out there and at least put up 19 points. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but that was a really great defense that he put it up on, and a horrible, horrible weather situation. Evan Ingram got a few touchdowns. That's all he needed to toss a few over there. I will say that the Texans are not going to continue this. I will stay with the momentum here and go with the Jags.
You know what? I think a lot of teams in the AFC do not want to see Jacksonville in the playoffs. From where it looks right now, this is a dangerous team. They're not as good as the Bills or the Chiefs or the Chargers or the Dolphins, but they are dangerous because they're getting hot at the right time. And again, like you said, Trevor Lawrence is suddenly looking like a top 10, maybe top 7 quarterback in the league, which is a big deal going into the playoffs. They have all the momentum, even though their record is equal with the Titans. They do have the tiebreaker, currently leading the division. They are currently the 4th seed in the AFC, which you would have never expected in a million years, as much as 5 or 6 weeks ago. But here they are. Divisional game against the worst team in the league. They're going to win this, and they're going to, I think, make the playoffs because Tennessee's going to lose. Jaguars are going to lock in the playoff spot, and they are going to be dangerous to deal with, and no one wants to meet them. I can guarantee you that. Broncos at the Chiefs.
Yeah, well, speaking of the MVP race, you got probably the best quarterback in the league as of right now versus probably the worst quarterback in the league. Now, you could argue Matt Ryan, but he's being benched. Russell is still playing, and they just fired, what's his name? I was going to say Vance Joseph.
Nathaniel Hackett.
Nathaniel Hackett. And now he's gone. So you do got to worry about the 2-game bump, but however, this is the Chiefs. This is the power rankings 1, 2, or 3, depending on what week it is. It is in Kansas City. I got to go with the Chiefs here. There's no way the Broncos are going to win this.
Man, Nathaniel Hackett survived 15 games as an NFL head coach. It's different when you don't have Aaron Rodgers suddenly, is it? Even if it's Russell Wilson, couldn't do a whole lot. I'm gonna say an unprecedented move that the Broncos will not benefit from the 2-game bump here that usually our teams get from head coach being fired. I think this season's completely over. No one's interested in playing at all. I think a lot of people are going to be asking to get traded in this offseason because this team is looking bad even for the future. They don't have draft capital. They have all these issues and they don't have any way to fix them. No one's going to trade for Russell Wilson. He costs $200 million. Not a soul will take that contract. Forget about it. You can release him and you have no cap space to re-sign the next quarterback. So this team's in a big pickle. But we'll talk about that more going into the offseason. For this game, no shot at all. Kansas City wins. They're still competing for the number 1 seed, and this is just, I mean, you had 51 put on you by Baker Mayfield. Like, logically speaking, Mahomes should put up triple digits here. So Kansas City, easy, no worries. What would be interesting, though, I mean, actually, I'm going to check the odds for this one. I'm going to check the odds because remember when the Cowboys were like 17-point favorites over the Houston Texans?
Yeah.
And I thought that was the highest spread ever. The Chiefs are, at home, 13.5-point favorites. I feel like this should be bigger than Cowboys-Texans.
Yeah, you would think.
I don't know. This could be like a 20-point game. Might as well be.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could see like 40-17 here.
Yeah, easy. Easily. If 17 at all. That 17 is overperforming for the Broncos offense.
Yeah,
on average.
Garbage time, you know.
Yeah, Kansas City wins. Okay, we got the easy games out of the way. Now the next, now it's going to get a bit more difficult here. Dolphins at the Patriots.
Yeah, this really is hard. I've been looking at this one for quite some time. Both of them coming off a loss. This is 8-7 versus 7-8. Now the Dolphins really do need this to keep any hope alive of getting into the playoffs, but like I said, that game was bad. It wasn't a weather situation. They were in Miami. Tua just started throwing picks for no reason. Like, this was one of the most accurate passing games in the entire league, and then it just melted down there against the Packers. Patriots, on the other hand, are coming off of a loss also, so it's really tough. I mean, I am actually going to call this a pick'em and give 3 points to the home team and say the Patriots win at home.
Do you remember how this game ended last time? Did the Patriots win the first one, or did did the Dolphins win the first one?
I'd have to look back at that, actually.
Because if the Patriots win this one, that suddenly becomes relevant. There would both be 8-8, and the tiebreaker would decide it. Right now, the Dolphins are in at 8-7. The Patriots are out at 7-8. If New England wins it, they will be tied, and then the tiebreaker will actually determine it. So it's gonna be a close one. I'm gonna go and pick the Dolphins in this. So I will offer my first disagreement here, and that's because I think Dolphins is, as much as they did struggle last week, and the Packers defense sure stepped up and kind of played above their weight class for a bit. I think this offense is still too explosive for Matt Patricia to stick with. I mean, he's not an offensive play caller. I don't know why he's there. I don't know why he has a job as an offensive play. It makes no sense. He needs to go immediately. Mac Jones is getting killed out there. He's getting ruined, and I get why he's fed up. Like, people are criticizing Mac Jones for being fed up. I'd be fed up if a guy who's like clearly a defensive coordinator horribly failed as a head coach, and then he's trying to call offensive plays which he has no idea about. Mac Jones could call offensive plays probably better than Matt Patricia from like a couple years experience at Alabama as a backup and as a starter. I don't know why the Patriots are doing this. I'm sure it's going to change in the offseason. It has to. But I'm going to say the Dolphins get it done. And I think this could be the clincher, by the way. If the Dolphins win this, they would clinch it at least over New England. Kind of depends on how Jets and Titans play, but Dolphins get it done in this week, I'm gonna say.
I want to say two things also. I looked back, and the Dolphins did win that first one 20-7.
Okay.
Plus,
so even if the Patriots won this, the Dolphins would still be in by the tiebreaker. But that's not what you want. That's not a good scenario going into next week.
Absolutely not. But also, Tua is back in the concussion protocol.
That is right, yeah. So that maybe is a problem if he cannot play. We know that at the start of the season, whenever he played, they won. Whenever he did not play, they lost. Mm-hmm. But the Patriots offense is historically bad at the moment. So Dolphins get it done. Somehow, I have faith. Colts at the Giants.
Yep, that's what I want to happen. I don't see it happening, but I want it to.
I know you do.
Colts at the Giants. Giants still have something to play for. That was a tough loss to what some people say is one of the best teams in the league. They, like I said, I don't know how they keep winning these last-second wins like that, but they're 10-0. In one-score games. But on to the Giants. The Giants have something to play for. They need to make this playoff run. The team is still good. The offense is firing like it should. The Colts are really bad, and I don't care if it's Nick Foles or if you throw Matt Ryan back in there. This offense is not going anywhere. I will take the Giants at home.
I agree. Giants should win it and also lock in a playoff spot. They are 8-6-1 right now. And the only way that they will not make the playoffs is if they, I think, lose out. So the Commanders jump them, and then either the Lions, Packers, or Seattle also jumps them. Which takes a lot for that to happen, but the Giants control their own destiny. And I think they win this one. It's prime opportunity against the Colts. I think they'll get it done. Mm-hmm. Saints at the Eagles.
Now, I've been hearing rumblings that after last week with the Gardner Minshew loss, which Gardner played fine, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts wants back in there so that they can secure the number one spot. They want that bye, of course, and that may happen, and that may play a factor here. The Saints are capable of winning a game like this if it's against Gardner Minshew. Now, with Hurts, I don't think they have a chance at all. The Saints are no killer team by any means, but they are capable of pulling out a win here and there. I'm going to say that even with Gardner Minshew, the Eagles should win this one at home and secure the number one spot.
I do agree with that as well. Though I will say the Saints have the faintest of outside chances of making the playoffs. Not by their record, because they already can't even touch the Giants anymore at 8-6-1. But because the NFC South is so historically bad, there is in fact a way for the Saints to win. It would necessitate Carolina also beating the Bucs and then losing the following week, but Saints can do it. I don't think they will. I think Philadelphia, this is their last game. In their minds, serious game for the regular season. Take care of business, clinch the number one seed, which you could have done if you beaten Dallas. And then the week after that, rest all your starters, get ready for the playoffs. So Philadelphia gets it done. Speaking of the Panthers, Carolina at the Bucs.
Yeah, Panthers have to win this one if they want to have any shot at making the playoffs. And I'd have to look back and see what their first matchup looked like. I don't remember that right offhand.
Panthers beat the brakes off the Bucs in the first one.
Oh, you're right.
20-6 or something like that.
So, wow, they could end up with a tie record, and then the Panthers would be in. Man, so they do have something to play for, but however, it's so hard to count out Brady and the Bucs. Even as bad as Brady is playing, they still find a way to win. I mean, they still have a top defense, even though it's hot and cold from week to week. You'll see some teams can't move the ball more than 5 yards on them, and then some teams run right over them. It doesn't make sense. And Mike Evans is hot and cold. Every player on this team is hot and cold, except for Brady. He's just consistently bad. The Panthers are the same way, and they go from game to game. And Darnold will be on fire, and then he just can't move the ball at all. I guess I'm going to just go with the home team here. I'll take the Bucs at home.
All right, we have a second disagreement. I'm going Carolina. They're just the better team, though, aren't they? I mean, if you look at recent history, they beat the Lions handily on the ground, the high-flying Lions, whereas the Bucs tried everything in their power to give it to the Cardinals, taking them to overtime, and they damn near lost. The Carolina Panthers can run the ball. The Bucs have like an entirely different defensive line. You can look at like 1 year ago, all 4 stars on the defensive line, they're gone at this point for the Bucs. That's clearly the weak point of their defense. I think the Panthers should be able to run up and down the field on the Bucs. I think they'll control the ball. I think they'll make more defensive plays, and they're gonna run it. Then I think they're gonna win. They're a better team, and if they do win, they actually jump the Bucs in the rankings. So I fully believe this. I'm believing Sam Darnold getting it done. Because he said Brady's just making too many mistakes. No one's really stepping up on the Bucs either. The defense is decimated. Panthers win it. Good matchup. Browns at the Washingtons.
Another tough one, man. This is really tough. I want to say the Browns are eliminated at 6-9. I don't know that they're still on the bubble. With the way that offense is, I mean, yeah, that was the coldest game in Browns history, the entire history of being in that stadium. That was the coldest game ever played there. So I guess there's something to be said for that, but both teams played in the same weather. So there's that. I mean, the Saints pulled it out. Commanders, I don't see anything great. They got stomped out by the 49ers. They did put up a fight in the first half of that game. It was pretty close to the first half, but the 49ers came back and ran right over them. So that makes this game really tough. I don't even know if I want to go with the home team here. I think the Commanders might be... Wentz may even be back in this game. You know what? I'll go with the better, or who should be the better quarterback. I don't even know at this point. But I'll take the Browns on the road.
It's tough to say, right? Watson had the best game of his Browns career so far last weekend. Wasn't very productive, but he didn't exactly get help. He had one passing touchdown, which should have been 4, but 3 of them basically were dropped. But then again, the results are the results, and the Commanders are generally a better team. Now, I don't know who's the starting quarterback going to be in a team that's competing for a playoff spot. It's a must-win. The Browns are, in fact, eliminated, like you've hinted at. For some interesting reason, I don't know the exact tiebreaker, the Browns at 6-9 are out. The Raiders at 6-9, because of some deep tiebreaker, can mathematically still leap over the Dolphins. But let's not think about that possibility. Browns are out. Nothing much to play for, except for getting Deshaun Watson ready for next season and hopefully having a good future. I'm going to take Washington to right the ship and get it done and stay competitive for one more week in that division, because you have suddenly a lot of teams knocking on the door. You have the Lions, Packers, and Seattle that all can reasonably win this week, and you can't afford to have that happen if you're the Washington Commies. So you have to win, and I think they get it done. Niners at the Raiders.
So the Raiders have set themselves up to not make it to 500. They would need a tie and 2 more wins, I believe. That's not going to happen because there's not enough games. You know, the 49ers are just that good. I want to say that this game is going to be close. I don't know what it is. I have a gut feeling that this game is going to be close because the Raiders have looked good at certain times. But I know the 49ers, I know how good they are. I know how good that defense is. And I know Nick Bosa is probably going to be the defensive player of the year. I don't know why I feel like this game is going to be close, but I can't be that dumb. I'm going to take the 49ers on the road.
Yeah, thank you. I was hoping for you to pick the Raiders and hand me that one.
Did.
I'm going to agree. I'll take the Niners, and I'll give you an extra bold prediction. 200-yard game for George Kittle. That's my bold prediction. If you remember back last time these two teams played was about, I think it was 3 years ago. The year that Jimmy Garoppolo originally got hurt, Nick Mullins came in. Might have been 4 years ago, actually, according to the regular schedule. Nick Mullins played most of that season, and George Kittle actually beat the record for most receiving yards in the first half against the Raiders. In that very time, and he had 200 receiving yards that game, and he's also been the most dominant offensive player maybe in the league over the past 2 weeks. So this is a perfect storm setting up for him to have another 200-yard game. That's my extra bold prediction because the game pick isn't very exciting. Jets at the Seahawks.
So what you're saying is load up on George Kittle in fantasy and DFS.
I mean, you better. After the last 2 weeks, if you have him, you probably made the championships, right?
Yeah. If you've been playing him the past 2 weeks, you're
scored
probably
like
in the championship
35
game.
points.
Yeah, he has been the best tight end over the past 2 weeks. It was pretty ridiculous that they hadn't been using him all season. I know you probably have a reasoning for that they're using him in protection more, but
Embarrassment of riches. Like, if you have like an insane running back, you want to, and he's the best blocking tight end in the league, and you want to run the ball with Debo and Christian McCaffrey, he's going to be blocking a lot.
Yeah.
And then you have like Samuel and also McCaffrey's basically a number one receiver.
Mm-hmm. And Ayuk is just that good too. But yeah, if they're not going to throw the ball to Christian, then you got Kittle right there over the middle. Jets and Seahawks. Both of these teams are coming off of horrible losses. It's not looking good for either team. I know the Seahawks are probably still on the bubble and fighting, or maybe even in the hunt. I'm not sure. The Jets are probably in the same situation, but is Mike White going to be here? Because I'm hearing that they've already benched Zach Wilson. They've already made that decision that he's going to be sitting on the bench once again, so Mike White probably gives them a better chance of winning this game. I'm going to say that the 12th man being in Seattle is going to help push this game over the line. I'll take the Seahawks at home.
So both of these teams have really dipped since middle of the season. Yeah. Seahawks on a 3-game losing streak, Jets on a 4-game losing streak. Both of them looked in promising position for the playoffs, and both of them kind of fell out of favor. Now, Seattle has the more realistic shot to me because they're only a half a game behind the 7th seed right now, the Washington Commanders. If they lose, and Seattle can theoretically leapfrog them if the Lions and Packers results also fall accordingly. Now, the Seahawks, ever since they lost Tyler Lockett, have not looked the same offensively because people are starting to defend the run, and that Geno Smith magic throughout the first 10 weeks is kind of fading away a little bit, even though he's still been serviceable and much better than Russell Wilson, and they do have a top 3 pick coming up. I think they get it done in this one, so they're going to beat the Jets. Jets have a lot of chaos going on with the quarterbacks, and they're going to miss the playoffs. They might be looking to rebuild in the offseason offensively. Maybe hopefully get Zach Wilson out there to someone else because he's getting grilled and this is not good for his career. And every single day he spends in New York is not good for his career. He needs to go somewhere else, and they need to come up with something. Maybe pick up Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. But Jets, I think it's too much chaos. Seattle has a more tangible route to the playoffs, and they'll get it done. Vikings and the Packers.
This is another tough one, actually. You would think, just looking at the records, that you got to go with the Vikings, right? But the Packers have a lot to play for here. They want to make it into the playoffs, whereas the Vikings are already dead set. They've won the division, but they want that number 1 seed, so they're still going to be fighting. I don't think they're going to take it easy at all. They're not going to coast through this, but like we've said, probably the best record for the worst the offense with that kind of record, I'll say. Justin Jefferson should probably be in consideration for MVP, even though he's not going to get it because it never happens. Rarely does a running back even get it, but Justin Jefferson has been that good. That makes this tough, though. I really, man, you know what? I'll just stay with the record here. It's hard to bet against a really motivated Aaron Rodgers, but I'll take the Vikings on the road.
You know what they teach you in driving school? Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear. Mm-hmm. Remember when the Packers were 4-8 and the Vikings were 12-1 or something, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is over. This is the end." I'm gonna take the Packers to win the game, and I'm gonna take the Packers to maybe make the playoffs. Longest of odds, I get it. They need the Commanders to lose. They need to win out, but we thought that train would stop with the Miami Dolphins. And guess what? The weakest part of the Packers team that's been the bane of their existence for years now is their defense and their special teams. They finally stepped up. 3 interceptions on 3 back-to-back drives. And we know what Aaron Rodgers is. And as long as there's anyone there to catch a ball, he's going to make enough plays to win you games. And this is the exact moment, the exact situation that I think he likes finding himself in. It's the Vikings. Everyone thinks it's over. They're finally done. People are, the NFC North is celebrating in the streets. The Packers are done for. I think he will take this opportunity to beat the Vikings if he gets the support he's gotten against Miami from his defense. And I think they're suddenly going to be at 500, and they're suddenly going to be playing for a playoff spot. And by the way, I said the Jaguars, no one wants to see them in the AFC. I feel like the same is kind of true for the Packers. Because if they come in the 7th seed, guess what? They're playing the Vikings again in the wild card round. And that would be exactly what I want to see. That would definitely be my personal matchup of choice. Especially if they win this one, suddenly the whole playoff picture is turned on its head. So I'm taking the Packers. I know this is a bit of an out there pick, but you know what? The odds makers kind of agree with me giving this merit. Packers are favored by 3.5, saying on a neutral field they'd give a half a point to Aaron Rodgers over the 2nd seed. So there's something to this, and I'm gonna stick with the magic. Packers win it. Rams at the Chargers.
Another one that I don't know how to make sense of this game. How did they put up 51 points? It doesn't make any sense. Are the Broncos tanking? I don't know. Maybe they want a high 2nd round pick. Doesn't make any sense. The Rams should not have done that. The Chargers are coming off of a good win on Monday night. No Derwin James in this one. He's in concussion protocol, and he got ejected in that game for that hit. But he was on fire before that happened. I gotta go with the Chargers. I mean, certainly they can't put up 51 points again, right? Like that can't happen again. I'll go with the Chargers at home.
Yeah, if it's not the Jaguars that are the world beaters in the AFC, it's gonna be the Chargers. You wouldn't believe this, thinking about the kind of career he's already had, but this is the first time Justin Herbert's making the playoffs in his entire NFL career. By magic, he's been historically the best quarterback of all time in the first 3 years by far of his career, and somehow managed to evade the playoffs in all 3 of those seasons at the same time. But this time the Chargers are going to make it in, and I'm excited to watch that for one. The ejection of Derwin James was absolutely terrible, horrible call, awful. This needs to stop, but it's fine. They'll be back for the playoffs. Chargers win. They're going to beat the Rams. Rams come down to earth. This is Justin Herbert and Baker Mayfield. You don't have to think about anything else. Chargers win it. Steelers at the Ravens.
I still don't know what to make of this game either. This is probably the toughest one on the entire slate for me. If Lamar's back, I'm going with the Ravens. But the Steelers are fighting. Tomlin is fighting to not have a losing season. He's got to at least break 500 here. And if they win this game, they'll have the 500 at least. And they're going to have to win one more to stay above that. I mean, I guess it's not a record that anyone really is hoping for. Like, oh, well, you barely got over 500. But I guess it does mean something to Coach Tomlin. The Ravens without Lamar is really bad. Taylor Huntley is nothing like he was in filling in last season. So I'm going to say that Lamar probably doesn't get back, and I will go with the Steelers on the road.
So the Ravens are still fighting kind of for spot. Actually, no, the Ravens I think have clinched the playoffs. They have with their record. They're fighting for the division win with the Bengals, and Bengals have a tough game this week, so the Ravens will be motivated in this one. But I think even more motivated will be the Steelers, because you've hinted at it. Tomlin has never had a losing season. He's had a 500 season, including a tie, but he has never had a losing season. They were at 4-8 at some point, and everyone thought this is it. This is finally the losing season, and maybe it's the end of an era. I think they get it done. Picking the Steelers to win at Baltimore, because guess who they're playing next week to save their record? The Browns. Perfect way to round it out. So the Steelers are going to finish the season 9-8. And by the way, they are still technically in it for the 7th seed. If the Dolphins lose out, the Steelers can win. Can make the playoffs if a lot of things go their way. I doubt it, but it's technically possible. But even just for the record, I think they'll get it. I think they'll get it done. So Pittsburgh to win at Baltimore. And finally, for once, we have a good primetime game. The entire season, we've had terrible Monday night games. I don't know why. But finally, we have Bills at the Bengals. Possible AFC championship.
Yeah, and possible MVP chances here. Joe Burrow's right there in contention now. At one point this season, we thought it wasn't going to happen, and we thought Josh Allen was running away with it, but he's had a few bad games, and he had a bad game last week, but he saved it on the final couple of drives when they put up some points there, and it saved the day for Josh Allen. Whereas the Bengals did what they do. They're actually that good. And as much as I didn't want to believe it early in his career, Joe Burrow is legit. I think he's as good as Herbert, if not better. I mean, I know that the record hasn't quite gone his way. I mean, the team's winning, though. I guess that injury plays into that also. But this is another tough one. I'm glad this is the last one because these games are so hard to pick this week. It's ridiculous. You know what? The Bills have absolutely clinched. I'm going to take the Bengals at home.
So, for the quarterback discussion, first of all, yeah, they're both in the MVP race. Burrow versus Herbert, I mean, you can kind of flip a coin. If I ask you who do you want, you'd say, like, I don't care, give me one of them. It doesn't really matter. Burrow isn't quite the passer from a pure like talent perspective that Herbert is. So if this is like your headcanon debate of who's the like 10 years later the incarnation of Andrew Luck, it's probably Herbert. But I mean, we've seen that Burrow gets the job done every bit of the way, so not necessarily even an important debate at all. But this game is going to be huge. The Bengals have the second best longest winning streak with 7 straight. Coming out of a very bad start to the season. We thought they'd have a down year. Not so much. Suddenly they're in contention, and a lot of people think they're actually the favorites in the entire AFC now. With their run. Similarly with the Niners in the NFC, they had a strong run. So they're firmly back in contention. Their defense is better than it was last year. Their offense is just as good. Their offensive line still has issues, but they're a very complete team. This is difficult to pick. This is very difficult to pick. I'm going Buffalo. I'm taking the Bills to win it. I think they're just a tad bit more consistent on offense. Now, they also have a bad offensive line. This is a problem that both of these teams share. But I think Josh Allen is able to improvise more with the ball than will be Joe Burrow. Both of these quarterbacks will possibly be under quite some pressure. And Josh Allen can do more with the ball in his hand. If he has to scramble, he's better at throwing on the run. He's better running it himself. He'll make an extra explosive play or two that Burrow won't quite make because of his physical limits. And that's ultimately what gets the Bills over the hump. But this is, either way, it's a great game. So I can't wait for this one. I'll take Buffalo. How many did we disagree on this week? Feels like 5?
5, yes. Dolphins,
5.
Patriots, Panthers, Bucks, Browns, Commanders, Vikings, Packers, and Bills, Bengals.
Okay, I'm feeling good about the Dolphins, for sure. I'm feeling very good about the Panthers. Bills, yeah. Maybe I feel like I have the momentum with Green Bay, so that should be a good one. The Commanders, I'm relying on them to suck less. I'm feeling good. Making up 1 point should be possible. I think I'll make up another point. I'll take those 3-2, and we're tied going into week 18. I think that would be the good narrative.
Yeah, that's most likely the outcome here because that's always how it ends. And we'll probably tie in next week and we'll end the season absolutely tied again.
And then go tied throughout the playoffs as well.
Yes, exactly.
I remember last year, like you were leading going into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I think I was kind of on the back foot already because then in the playoffs, I was kind of forced to pick the underdog teams because I had to make up points. So it's really important for me this time to not go into the playoffs down points.
Yeah.
If we're even going to the playoffs, then suddenly it's an even playing field, and we'll see how it goes from there. But that's the picks for this week. If you have opinions on this, please let us know in the comments what you think, who you're picking, who's making the playoffs, who's getting eliminated, who's winning the upset game. And for you, I assume final time for this year, how is the fantasy world looking?
Yeah, and actually I'm going to do a Week 18 because there are some leagues that play Week 18 for whatever reason. It's really ridiculous, and you should not do that. But some leagues do that, so I will do one more. But this is championship week for most of the world here. We're going to get into the news, and I have a secret to share with people about how to win a championship.
Oh, wow. Okay, that is a good cliffhanger. Okay, if you happen to be in your fantasy football championship, you probably have George Kittle on your team, and you definitely do not want to miss the hurry-up offense, which is what Smokey is talking about. Scoreboard, not Scoreboard, fantasy football podcast, not really podcast, it's a 15-minute episode telling you how to win your championship. Coming up Thursday before kickoff. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications if you want to be notified about it, and that way you'll be able to hear the secret on how to win. I hope everyone watching it wins, because otherwise it's not a good secret. And it's also not a secret anymore if you tell it to them.
It won't be. It won't be after this week. But as of right now, it's a secret, so I'm gonna let everybody in on it.
Okay, I'm not playing, but I'm gonna watch it anyway for the case that I eventually get into the championships again. By the way, the Week 18 fantasy, just to like closing remark, it seems really weird to me.
Yeah.
Because you're like, it's the most important fantasy game of the year, I assume. It's the championship, and you're playing it when it's the least important in the NFL. Like half the teams are resting their starters. On average, there's only like 5 teams or so that are playing for anything.
Yes.
Like in Week 18, like there's not that many teams in the playoff bubble.
Yeah.
So not a lot of incentive.
You're going to be heartbroken if you had the best team all season and you make it to the championship and you lose because the Eagles are sitting their players and the Bills are sitting their players, because those are the guys that got you there. And
Exactly.
you're going to be without them. Yeah.
In fact, it feels like Week 18 fantasy actually rewards, or like it punishes the best teams, because you're most likely to have the best record if you have, like, say, a lot of the Eagles and the Bills and the Chiefs and the Niners this year. A lot of those teams will are more likely to rest their starters.
Yeah.
In Week 18.
You really have to work the waiver wire if you're going to play Week 18. You have to be really smart about it. And it's just way too unpredictable. It's just not fair to you to have the best team all season and then lose it because of starters sitting.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It feels like a gamble almost.
Absolutely.
So, but well, for those of you who are playing it, you'll get a hurry up offense next week as well. So
yeah,
look forward to that. I'm curious to see the contents of that, because that's kind of unfamiliar territory for you as well. But I'm sure you'll have something good there.
Oh yeah.
So thank you for watching, everybody. Drop us a like. Do you have anything to add for these games before we go?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right, then, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check